after I met Lon, my life changed.
And we started building schools, and that was kind of the start of these projects.
You know, after you got together with Susan, what was life like?
We had a 4-hour, 11-minute century on this bike.
On the track bike. Hey guys, this is John. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to have the second half of my interview with Lon Haldeman. If you recall the last video, we talked to Lon, talked about his career. We even talked to his mom and her role in his career. Now in this video, we're going to go back to his house, check out some really cool bikes, check out some kind of historic items that he has, which are kind of neat. And we're also going to meet someone really special, someone he had a big impact on, and learn more about what Lon is doing now. So guys, do me a favor, leave your comments down below in the comments section. If you have any questions for Lon or anybody in this video, just put them down below. We're all going to be keeping an eye on the comment section. So guys, get a beer, a glass of wine, Coca-Cola, bottle of water, settle in, and enjoy the show. All right, we're at Lon's place. We have a couple RAAM bikes to show. What do you got?
Well, I have a couple of my bikes that I used in the race across America. They were, I used RB bicycles all the way from 1982, 83, 84, 85, 86. And over those years, Ron probably built probably about 8 or so different bikes for me, different times for different purposes. And so the white bike is the 1983 race across America bike, which I won the race that year, finished in Atlantic City. A few days later, went to Paris, France to do Paris-Brest-Paris, which Susan was going to ride somewhat competitively. And she had been sitting on a support crew for about 3 weeks and hadn't ridden at all. So anyway, so we do Paris-Brest-Paris. She does it in 53 hours, sets a new women's record. So I rode the bike in Paris-Brest-Paris. A few days later, loaded the bike up with lowrider panniers and had a rack on it. And
the same bike.
Same bike, still had the RAAM wheels, had 28 spoke wheels with 230 gram sew-ups.
And you put a rack and bags and everything on it?
Put a rack and bags on it. So that's
awesome.
That bike had been around.
And look at that wheelbase, guys. It's just, sorry to interrupt, but you got with 17-inch stays, it looks like.
Yeah, and so a lot of the bikes that Ron built for me, it was all about comfort. So a lot of it's out of, well, like this one, oversized 1/8" top tube. It's not quite squeezable, but it's almost squeezable top tube.
That might be similar than the one that that I bought. Now, guys, if you want, look in the description below. You'll see a video with Ron Boy helping me build my RB bicycle, and I think it was very similar to this. It did have that oversized 1/8" head top tube. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And we did a lot. You know, I weighed 190 pounds, but a lot of these bikes, most people would say were fairly soft. Because on the Race Across America, you basically needed something you're on 20 hours a day. So you wanted it comfortable, and it still had to be light and efficient. So a lot of the bikes that I rode were almost like touring bikes as far as 72-degree angles, laid back geometry, a lot of fork rake, very stable, pretty much low bottom brackets, like a 10-inch bottom bracket height on a lot of these bikes. They weren't criterium bikes. I mean, there was a lot of if you're riding this in a criterium, you'd be scuffing your pedals on the corners, because the bottom brackets are actually pretty low.
So this is actually an auxiliary set of wheels, because you were using sew-ups, right?
Right. This is.
You got 2 different rims.
Yeah. This is just hodgepodge. But a lot of times my wheels never matched anyway, because we'd have 14 spoke, front wheels and stuff. And back in the day, you couldn't really buy that. So we used to get blank rims and drill our own and make our own wheels and things.
Now, is this the levers that you used?
Probably that, yeah.
Because that was a thing back then.
Yeah,
Campy didn't have a good aero lever, but Diacomp did.
Because back in the days when they had the cables coming out of here, and I'm on RAAM, I would always get myself caught in the cables while I was eating and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Because we had like a water bottle cage on the front here and things.
Sure.
And so actually I had aero levers out of necessity just so I wasn't getting tangled up in the wires.
That makes sense.
This is a 1985 Race Across America bike, but what we evolved into is we actually started adding brazons on the fork here for a water bottle cage for our 6-volt lantern batteries that I would use during the race, you know, with like a Union 2.5 watt light.
Sure.
But this also lined up for lowriders, so I could put the Blackburn lowriders on here, and so I could use it as a race bike, and then I could always load it up as a touring bike. And as you notice, it even has rear dropout eyelets here. So it's probably one of the few racing bikes that were ever made with full dropout or full brazons to go touring. And there's even a little number plate clip that was put on these bikes.
That is cool. These are guys. These bikes are history. This is, and I'm going to bring this particular bike to the Eddie Rando show if you want to see it, which is June 1st in Boulder, Colorado. Thanks to Lon letting me use that for a little bit.
Okay, so I got something really cool I want to show you.
All right.
So come on in here. There's a couple other record-setting bikes. This other RRB bikes. This was built for Susan in 1982 when she was trying to set a new 24-hour record, and she did it over 400 miles, and she actually did in a route in central Illinois down near Champaign, and there was a tornado going on at the time. So we were doing these loops, and this tornado was blowing in, horizontal rain. But anyway, so this is her record-setting bike, the first time a woman had gone over 400 miles in the United States.
Wow.
So
is there a reason why that's not built up, Lon?
Well, I think we took the parts off to steal them and put them on another bike.
Gotcha. I think
so.
I think we all done that, right?
Kind of way, and same way with this one. So
look at this, guys. This is
May
totally
of
neat.
'82, she set the 24-hour record, because then in June she was going to set the transcontinental record. And this is an aero bike, and you can see how skinny the tubing is here.
Wow. All right.
And this, I think, is like a Vetus aero tubing set, but you can see that seat post, how skinny that was.
Yeah, you know what?
This was her cross-country record-setting bike that she used in June of 1982.
That is cool. Yeah, that's history right there. And actually, you know, Ron showed me your aero bike, which I think was fairly similar. So what do you got down here?
Well, a little bit of history of aero bars and how they got involved in some long-distance cycling and also triathlons and whatever. But in 1984, Jim Elliott in Race Across America had these aero bars that kind of went on the back end. These aren't the ones, but a similar design. They were just set back where he could put his forearms on and ride like this.
Okay.
So that was in 1984. Well, Pete Penseer's brother in 1985 was doing it, so Pete decided to make some aero bars for his brother and came up with the design that's out of wood there, and he put them on, and he would clamp them on, and had aero bars like this, had a little bit of a handle there. So this is out of felt and in plywood and some fiberglass and stuff.
That's not carbon fiber, guys.
No, and then Pete made a fancier version, but they actually welded some together.
That. Okay.
But they have wooden clamps, so that's how it evolved again. And then in 1986, Pete used a bar similar to this when he set the one RAAM and he set the cross-country speed record. And this one actually is carbon fiber.
It is carbon fiber.
So that
That's
was, again, innovation. And then
that is sharp.
Pete and I, when we did the tandem record in '87, I needed to get some aero bars too. So this is what I used on the front of the tandem. And, you know, really, it was the most comfortable position on the bike. And on the rear of the tandem, we had some extensions like this that the rear rider could come up beside the captain. So this is in tandem evolution, the longest rear top tube at the time, a Cannondale, had 28 inches. We built our bikes with 32-inch rear top tubes, so the rear rider could actually get down in an aero position and get their head down behind the driver's rear end. And in that aero position, it was actually, we did coasting speed tests at 50 miles an hour down these 10% grades. And actually having the longer wheelbase, actually the bike was much faster by getting that rear rider with a flat
he's
back.
Down. That is neat.
So that's kind of a history of aero bars. And of course, we're building all this stuff in the basement with fiberglass and, spending hours and hours building this stuff. Well, a few years later, everybody came out with aero bars by the late 90s, and you could buy them in a bike shop. But this is kind of how it all started, just putting things together.
Sure. So what's this bike all about?
Well, this is one of the bikes that actually have been donated to our foundation that helps the riders in Peru and in Africa. And a lot of times what we'll do is we'll do a tour across Peru. If it's a road bike tour, for example, this is a road bike.
Right.
And we'll give them our group, and everybody takes a bike over. We ride across Peru, and at the end of the tour, we give it away to the racers. Sometimes we have those bike races, and whoever wins a bike and so on.
Wow.
So we probably have taken 30 or 40 different bikes down to Peru. And sometimes it's a mountain bike tour, and we ride mountain bikes and give them away afterwards.
Wow,
and we get some really nice stuff donated. And they really appreciate it in Peru because they have a hard time getting good equipment down there.
Well, that bike's totally serious. This is the type, I know this is not necessarily up in the wheelhouse of the guys that watch my channel much, but we have the titanium lugs, if you will, with the carbon tubes. And that's a pretty serious bike by 7. I was looking at one of those back in 2019. Well, hey, it's cold. Can we head inside?
Sure.
That's interesting. Now, you mentioned you're doing something in Peru. What are you doing there?
Well, after I had been cycling, pretty much through the 1980s and the 1990s. In 1999, I went down to Peru, did a trip on the Amazon, and I ended up meeting some people, and I ended up going back there to ride my bike across Peru because they said it really hadn't been done. They said there might be a road, maybe not. So I rode my bike up over the Andes Mountains down to the headwaters of the Amazon, and I'm going through these villages and the back roads and stuff, and they said, "What are you doing here? Nobody's ever ridden a bike on these roads before." And I said, "Well, I'm just trying to get to the headwaters of the Amazon." So it was about a week's-long trip. I get down there, I get on a boat, go down the Amazon, go down to a place. I started doing in the back country, shanty towns, doing projects, building beds, building staircases for the village. And they said, really what we need is a school. Can you come back and build a school? So I came back the next year with some funding, and we started building schools. And that was kind of the start of these projects that I started to do. So that was like 2001, 2002. So I started doing projects in Peru, and it expanded into all kinds of other stuff. We would do trips, we'd bring groups of cyclists, we'd ride our bikes across Peru, some on mountain bikes, some on road bikes. We crisscrossed Peru. I've been going there for over 25 years.
Wow.
And so we got to know a lot of people. I got involved with the national cycling team there. And so we would bring donations. So people would send us a lot of their used cycling gear, shoes, equipment, jerseys, shorts, parts and things. Even bikes. So we'd take those bikes, ride them across Peru, and then give them out as prizes and give them to the national team and things. So that's what I've been doing in Peru now for really the last 20 years, pretty seriously.
So when I see that, I see you at bike swaps all the time, and you're selling all that equipment. Is that those proceeds also go?
Yes. Well, there's a certain amount of stuff that I can't take to Peru.
Sure.
And so there is a kind of a market. So we were able to generate cash because I'm sending a box of stuff down to Peru to the national team every month. Every box is like $150 in postage and mailing. So we have to generate a fair amount of cash, just to for our shipping and stuff like that. So that's what we do with some of the items that have some resale value. But otherwise, a lot of it is I bring down to the national team, even when we go on a tour.
Gotcha.
So guys, let me interrupt this really quick. Hey, hit a like button on this if you're enjoying yourself and you like this channel. Also, subscribe to the channel. We greatly appreciate it. Hit that stupid little bell that tells you that I have a new video out. Join us on Facebook, John's Vintage Road Bike Garage. We have a great group there. A lot of encouraging folks that can help you with your bicycle questions. And no snobbery allowed. That's the only rule.
Well, since I was involved with the national team, and we would do these races and stuff, and at one of the races I was at was a young woman, 14 years old, kind of in the stock bike division, and I got to know her, and we became friends. And so for several years, I would go to the races, and she was good enough. She got involved in the junior national team, and then eventually the senior national team. Her name was Stephanie, and so eventually we were able to bring her to the United States. She was able to bike race here for several years. She joined us on some of our cross-country tours that we were doing, and she is now actually living with my mother. She's been staying with my mother now on and off for 4 years. Oh, wow. And so that's how my mother got to know her.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I'd like to have a chance to speak with her, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think you'd really like talking to her.
Okay, great. Hopefully we work that out. Guys, maybe in this video. Stuff. Now, what's going on in Africa?
Well, Africa's kind of started a similar thing. We went there with Craig Kelfie of Kelfie Carbon Bicycles. He was doing a project where he was taking his carbon technology and using it in bamboo with aluminum inserts and epoxy windings and stuff with fiber, and then he was making these bamboo bikes. So he set up these workshops. So that was in 2012. So we started going there, and then we did bike tours. I started leading tours back in Ghana, Africa, and we would ride from village to village. We got to know...
With locals or from people here would go down there?
Well, there was probably 10 people from the United States that went with me, and we'd meet up with riders from Ghana, and they would travel with us.
Oh, interesting.
And so we'd usually ride mountain bikes and then donate those bikes to the local riders and stuff. And so that's how I got to know so many people in Africa. And a lot of those riders, we then, they wanted to go into, mainly they were young women in their late teens, and then we helped them start their own business, either at sewing shops, hairdresser shops, things like that. So now, I've known them for 13 years or so, we've got them established in roadside businesses, and other ones have gone on to the university, and we've been helping them over the years. And so that's why we've been going to Africa. And it's kind of the same thing. We helped some schools. We built some cafeteria, picnic shelter type things. We've done a lot of that. And we've also gone into the backcountry with hand crank sewing machines. It will take 10, 15 sewing machines, go to the home economics department of a high school, and they'll set up these sewing centers. So we've been going to high schools and stuff all around the backcountry, helping them start sewing centers.
So they're learning a vocation, something that can take care of them for a lifetime.
Right.
That's cool. Well, you know what, Lon, you're not only leaving a legacy in cycling, but in your own personal life as well, which to me, honestly, is more impressive. So,
well, I tell people, people say, oh yeah, I've been on Wilder Sports, and you finished at the Empire State Building and all that kind of stuff. And 20 million people saw it on TV and stuff, but the stuff we've done in Ghana and Peru, a lot of it's been done anonymously. Not that many people even know about it, but in my heart, I've actually enjoyed that more. To me, even though I've had, an okay cycling career and 100 trips across the United States with our touring groups and met, 1,000 friends, but the stuff in Africa, in Ghana, or in Ghana, Africa, and Peru is some of the more interesting things I guess I got involved in, because I had no idea that even existed 25 years ago. And just one thing after another. And that's when I wrote that book, And that's kind of the theme of that book, how you could start off as a little 10-year-old kid riding 10 blocks and going out in the ice cream shop 3 miles away, and how that turned into a career in cycling for 20 years. And then one thing led to another, and ended up going to Peru and Africa and not knowing what I was getting into.
Right.
And now I know the backcountry of Peru, oh, not quite like the back of my hand, but I've been on all kinds of, we've crisscrossed that country a dozen times on tours on every little back road we can find. So it's all been a great adventure.
You know what, Lon, you're leaving a legacy not only with cycling, but in your personal life, in your charitable life, and that's just excellent. So, hey guys, I want to introduce you to Stephanie, and she got involved with Lon's organization. Tell me, how'd you get involved with them?
I met Lon when I was 14 years old, 10 years ago. And I went to a cycling race, and I didn't expect to meet him. I was just doing the typical things that I do before a race. And then I saw Lon, and I thought that he was lost.
You thought he was lost?
Because the tourist people, I mean, the tourists that go to Peru are not usually in that area where the competition was.
Oh, okay.
People
You don't see tourists there.
No. So I thought that he was lost, and I thought that something might happen to him. So I just approached to him and started talking. My English was not, it was really basic. You know, just my name, how are you, how can I help you?
Did you know who he was?
No.
That he was a bike racer or anything?
No, I didn't know. I thought that he was lost. That's
Okay,
it.
interesting.
So then we try different ways to talk because I didn't have a good English. So I was getting ready for the race, and then he said, well, I'm a cyclist too. But when he started talking about racing across America, I didn't understand anything because I didn't understand English.
Sure.
I just tried to follow that conversation, and that's it. And after, I remember that in that race, I won the first place. I did like 3 different races in the same day. So I won all of them, and then he approached to me again.
And this is when you were 14 years old,
when
right?
I was 14.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think that our conversation was kind of short because we couldn't communicate really well because of my lack of English.
Or his lack of Spanish.
What?
His lack of Spanish.
Yeah. Well.
Right? Hey, we're in your home country. It's not your lack of English, it's his lack of Spanish. Let's be really clear.
Well, but
he's in Peru.
Yeah. But I feel that nobody could approach to him or talk to him because I think most of us didn't know English, or he didn't know Spanish at that time too.
Sure.
So, but then we just keep in touch through email. That was our only way to communicate to each other, because after that race, he came back to United States and I was in Peru. So he started helping me, supporting all my cycling career, because during that time, my parents were the only people who pay for all my cycling career. I was still in school, so the federation only paid for the main competitions, the main races. But all the training and all the things that I needed besides the main competition was really expensive.
Are you talking like clothing?
Clothing, cycling, all the stuff that we need. Food, specific things that we need to drink, to eat, that kind of things that my parents were paying for. But when I met Lon, I was in that transition where my parents said, okay, do you think that you are good enough to continue and get a cycling career, or you are going to finish high school and you are going to decide if you want to be a professional or you just want to be a cyclist, because it's really expensive and we cannot afford that.
Gotcha.
So I talked to Lon about that, and he started supporting all my cycling career. So he helped me to get a new bike. He was sending all the equipment that I needed, clothing. He paid for everything.
Wow.
So thanks, after I met Lon, my life changed
Absolutely.
100% because I didn't know if I was able to continue in cycling. And after I met him, I was like, okay, I have to look for another race. I have to get ready for the next competition. I have to change everything. So I talked to my parents. My parents said, okay, if he's going to help you, I think that this is going to work. But you have to be really responsible because you need to get results. You know, you have to win, you have to prepare for the next competition and show him and prove him that all what he's doing is going to be worth it.
Right,
you know?
right.
So I think that that was my mindset during the time that I met Lon. And since I was 14, I think that I kept doing that for 5 or 6 years, I think now.
Wow.
And he supported all my cycling career till I was, I don't know, 22, when it was my last year with the national team.
And that was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Terrific.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow, so what an impact.
Oh, yeah.
So it kept you cycling until...
Yeah, but you know, at that point, it's like in Peru, the main thing is that you can be a cyclist or you can get you be professional. You know, you can get a degree and work in what you study, and you have only 2 options. But with Lon and the help of my parents, I understood that I can do both.
Yes.
You know? But when I finished high school, there was the other thing. My parents said, okay, you want to get a degree or something, or you want to be a cyclist? And I was like, oh, I think I can do both.
Right.
And so now that I look back, it's like, what a great person I met. Because I don't know what I was doing now if I hadn't met him.
Interesting.
You know?
Yeah.
And so thanks to him and cycling, I could get my degree. I'm graduated from a Peruvian university in management and marketing.
Oh, wow.
And then he helped me to get to do a dual degree, and I got my degree in business management in the University of Arizona.
No kidding.
So thanks to him and all the people that he know, because when I was 19, I was in one of his tours.
Gotcha.
So I could meet more people thanks to him. And those people helped me and support my education career too.
Wow. So what are you doing now?
I'm just in the process to study more English to get an international certificate. I feel that it's time to settle down.
Sure.
And just get all my paperwork done to be established in this country and maybe start and working what I studied.
So you want to stay here?
I would love to stay here.
Well, there's a lot of opportunity here.
Yeah.
So hopefully you can.
Oh, yeah. I would love to do that. And I think that Lon and all his family helped me during all this journey.
That's fantastic. Well, I appreciate you spending the time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. So, Ron, really quick, what are these pictures here?
Well, this picture is actually when I'm finishing the 82 Great American Bike Race into New York City, coming across the George Washington Bridge. I'm coming through here. There are film crews filming from the truck, and in the background is a helicopter. And if you look at the TV broadcasts are actually going back and forth between those 2 camera shots.
Oh, okay.
Coming around here a little bit further is the tandem. Susan and I set in the 1983 tandem transcontinental record going up Yarnell Hill there in Arizona.
Wow. That's some history. Digging that.
So yeah, there's a bunch of weird stuff up here. The banner, that's from ABC Wide World of Sports.
That's fun. We got Gracias, Mr. Lon Haldeman, cycling pioneer. What's that from?
That's from the Peruvian national team. They gave that to me. I've been supporting the Peruvian national team for almost 20 years. And I really enjoy helping them out because I know a lot of those kids have, I know where they live. They live under some pretty Spartan conditions. They live in the bleachers underneath the velodrome. And a lot of them sleeping on wire, mesh cots, and but it's better than what their life is at home. So that's why a lot of them like to be to get on the national team is a really plus for them. And so they don't have too much, and so we tried to help them out. We helped the national team there in Peru as much as we can, and we started a foundation where cyclists from all over the United States would send us shoes and clothing.
Is there a way we could help support that cause?
Well, anything that we can get as far as equipment, I say we use anything except used chains. So right. even if it's cassettes, there's somebody gave us some really good cassettes. We've got sorting boxes here, all different size jerseys, things like that
sure.
that we sort out and things. And we try to give the very best stuff for the national team.
And they're using modern equipment.
Yeah, more or less.
Okay.
But still, there's some of them are still on 9-speed.
Okay. It's good to know.
9-speed STI. So we get a lot of things donated to us. Somebody converted to 10-speed and 11-speed, and they got rid of their 9-speed Grupo. So we'll get 9-speed Grupos and stuff, and then build up bikes and take them to Peru or send the stuff to Peru.
That's awesome. Well, this is very similar to my man cave with all my accomplishments and posters on the wall. This is just fantastic. Lon, I'm looking at all this. There's a lot of history. After you got together with Susan, what was life like? Were you on the road? Did you have a place to stay? House?
We were married in 1983, and we didn't have a house until 1986. So all through those years, we had a Volkswagen van. We traveled around the country. Mm-hmm. We did events. Started off in California in the spring and worked our way across to Texas and eventually to South Carolina. So we were on the road a lot, living in a van, of course, staying at some friend's house and things. So
you were bike bums.
Yeah, we did that. And
cool.
I've got some pictures we'll show you of the bikes. The van's loaded with bikes. We had this Volkswagen van. When you loaded it down with 8 bikes, it had a maximum speed of about 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, I could imagine that.
It wasn't interstate legal most of the time. So that's what we did. And we traveled around with some friends, and we'd have 6 people in the van, and 5 people would get out and ride, and 1 person drive and say, okay, we're going to meet you 100 miles down the road. And that's how we trained. We leapfrogged throughout the day like that.
What a way to live. That's
yeah,
awesome.
So
how fun is that?
We didn't, in hindsight, we really didn't have any money, really.
Sure.
We barely had enough to put our races together, but we did that for a lot of years. And we finally got a house, and then eventually we had a daughter the next year, so then we had to get real jobs, and that's eventually how we started the touring business with our pack tour, our Pacific Atlantic cycling tours, of doing trips across the country. And so we've been doing that for the last 35 years. Well, here's some things from Susan. This is when she won the 1985 Race Across America. This is her women's record. She did 1982. This is 1985. And that's the Volkswagen van we bummed around the country. This is in 1989 when she set a women's record of 9 days, 9 hours, which is still the fastest woman on the northern route that went across West Virginia to New York City. So she had done races. I think she did 5 different races across the country too.
That's inspiring, absolutely. Well, too bad she's in St. Louis. We get a word from her.
Yeah.
This is a really cool room. What's the Route 66 theme all about here?
Well, we do tours across the country. We've been doing that for 40 years. We've done 100 trips, coast to coast, Mexico, Canada, Florida to Maine, and Route 66. So that's part of our Pacific Atlantic Cycling Tour company that we have. And so every year we'll do 2 or 3 cross-country tours. And so that's
How many people go on each of these tours?
You know, it depends. You know, Route 66, because you're eating at diners and stuff, maybe 20 people or so. A big cross-country tour could have maybe 40 riders.
Oh, wow.
Or so.
And do you do all the work setting up the logistics and everything? Or?
Yeah. We, you know, a big tour. We call it Holiday Inn, Best Western, you know, type of thing. It's not
Sure.
camping. So, but we're doing, you know, we used to do, you know, 150 miles a day. Eventually, it rounded in 130 miles a day. Now, most of our cross-country serious tours are about 100, 110 miles a day or so. Something like a Route 66 tour, because it's history-oriented, we do like 65 to 75 miles a day because you're doing a lot of museums,
Sure,
guest speakers and things. So different tours have different themes. So that's what keeps us on the road, you know, 100 days a year doing tours and things all over the country.
so like a cross-country tour, you usually do in how many days?
Well, you know, a northern transcontinental's 35 days, 3,500 miles.
Gotcha.
And that's from like Seattle to Boston.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. This used to be our ding-ding. It flashes, but I have to fix the transformer.
So that's your...
You would turn it on and it would flash. Like, so the baby's, he's like, gotta fix it. Every day he gets up, you gotta fix it.
So you call it a ding-ding.
He calls it the ding-ding.
And that's because your grandson's into trains. I guess that
Right.
explains all this. Guys, these are made of wood. And these are made by Lon Haldeman himself, right?
Yeah, well, my grandson is really into trains. So about every month we've been making a different train, diesels and streamliners and steam engines and Pullmans. And we actually make a lot of these things, and then we give them away for Toys for Tots at Christmas. So during the course of a year, we'll probably make maybe 30 trucks, stuff like this. You know, we make about 30 of these kind of trucks, give them away. And
You
then,
make that in your wood shop?
Yes, we make these in the wood shop there, and you know, make a lot of different all kinds of different toys and things, and steamrollers, a lot of things. I end up, you know, I'm doing other carpentry projects. I end up with a lot of scrap wood. So a lot of these things are made out of scrap left over from other building projects.
Well, that's really generous of you. So you build them up, you give them away at Toys for Tots.
Yeah, and you know, the trains will, I don't know, I'll probably make about 10 trains a year, and we'll give those away too. We give them to the police department and in churches and stuff, and then sometimes they have auctions and auction them off. Sometimes they give them out
Sure.
for Toys for Tots and things. So we're busy doing something. And my grandson is the test market, so he plays with them for a while and make sure they're going to hold up, and then we give them away.
That's awesome. Also, I noticed up here, you got creative with this wood trim, made it look like tracks. This is a fun room. It really is.
Well, you know, everything's got a story about different things that we've collected, a lot of things we found along the roadside, and it's just our collection room.
That is fun. It's giving me ideas. What do we got here?
Well, that is the 1981 Specialized Allay that I rode on the double transcontinental. And actually, I had a trek bike that I rode from New York to Los Angeles. Specialized just came out with these bikes, and they gave it to me in Santa Monica, and so they built it up that night. My crew had to do some work building stuff up, but the next day I rode it 265 miles across California into Quartzsite, Arizona, and it was great. So I've had that bike a long time.
Hey guys, I found a bike here in the rafters. This is a track bike, a Raleigh track bike from, when was this, Lon?
Well, probably 1970.
1970. And what did you race this, Northbrook?
Yeah, and a 24-hour track did 454 miles.
Wow.
Actually, I did my fastest century. I did a 4-hour, 11-minute century on that bike.
On the track bike?
On a track bike.
Fixed gear?
54 a 50-15 gear, a 93-inch gear.
93-inch gear. That's crazy. I'm tripping over things here.
Yeah, this is a Schwinn Super Latour from 1977.
Right.
So, but they were so proud of it, they called it the 12.2 because it only weighed 12.2 kilos.
27 and a half pounds.
Right, and they were bragging about it, that it only weighed 27 pounds.
Lon, mine was better. I had the Voyager 11.8.
That's the one I had too.
It was actually the same bike. I think it had a little more chromoly. I think that was the only difference.
Yeah.
So, wow. Okay. What's that orange bike?
This is a Rivendell.
That's a Rivendell. Okay.
Yeah, it's a Rivendell.
Hold on here, guys. We got ourselves an Talavega, full cap in yellow. That's interesting. Look at the stays on this thing.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah, that's kind of a classic.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on them. I don't know a lot about them, but I just heard people talking about it. At first I saw that at Univega. No, a Talavega. That is neat. Thanks for showing me that.
Yeah.
What do you got there?
This is a Le Mans out of 853 tubing.
Okay, this looks like a 90s vintage.
Yeah, this is a really nice light bike.
Oh yeah.
And this one.
Look at this, guys.
This is Susan's. This was Susan's 9-day, 9-hour bike, and I put this is a different fork, but this is a Georgina Terry custom made with really super light tubing on it. So I think that's where that bike came from, but she hasn't put that one back again.
You got some history
You keep
back there.
stealing parts and trading them around. There's an Astra Daimler here that I used on a cross country.
You took that on the east to west transcontinental?
Yep. This actually set the record for New York to Santa Monica.
Yeah, I'm sure you helped though.
Yeah. It's a nice bike. It has a really long top tube on it. I have to build that up again.
Are you a full-fledged mechanic, Lon?
I can work on most stuff before the 1990s.
Well, I think you and I are similar there. I've learned more in the last 4 years on that stuff because I forced myself to. Well, wow, thanks for showing me this stuff. This is a lot of fun. I like the Geos here, or Joss, and you guys could argue how to pronounce it. Another beautiful bike. Yeah, look at those wheels. Kind of funky. A little more modern than you guys usually like, but yeah, I'm digging it. Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun for me, being a hero. They always say, don't meet your heroes. But you know what? In this case, it was definitely a trip. Definitely loved it. And thanks so much, Lon, for your time, your attention, and dragging your mother into this.
Yeah, so that was really great that she could be part of this, and also with Stephanie. And I know we covered a lot more than just bicycle racing and things, but that's all kind of part of it. And then I look back on probably 50 years of different experiences and how lucky I've been with getting the support from so many people over the years. And I've really not said thank you enough to them. So I really have to give them a lot of credit for pulling a lot of this stuff together, because I don't think I could ever duplicate it again.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of work. And also too, Ron Boy got a total kick out of your thank you that you did on video, so I appreciate doing that as well. I know he really enjoyed that for sure. So, hey, thanks for spending the time. I will return your bike to you, I promise.
Okay. I've got lots of bikes, and I'm trying to give them away to good homes. So,
but not that one, I assume.
Well, if you have a good home for it, it's better to have things where people can appreciate it.
Well, if we start the museum, we'll do it.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
All right.
You know what? If it wasn't for you guys watching these videos, I would not be able to interview people like Lon Haldeman. It's just such a trip, man. He's a local guy, but you know what? I really looked up to him. Always saw him in the magazines, but we're not done with Lon. I had another dinner with Lon, his wife Susan, and Ron Boy together. We're going to reminisce. I should say they're going to reminisce about the race across America. Ron Boy not only built the bikes for him, the RAAM bikes, but he also crewed for him as well. So I already filmed it. It's pretty cool. It's got edited. It's coming, probably about a month from now. We have some videos coming. I took a trip to Colorado and did a bunch of cool stuff. Went back to Golden Velo. I interviewed a bike builder, amazing guy, Mark Nobilette. Went to the Eddie Rando Classic, which is a bike show. What else? Oh, Rich Gangle did a show with all his Eddie Merckx tribute bikes that he built, and that's a trip. So guys, subscribe to the channel if you like bike content like this. And even if you don't like it, do it anyway. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next video.